Oh, yeah, it was on. And we get to do it today.
Yes, we do. Hi, this is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and Podcast #1 Internet Singles Talk Network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
And Christine, we're back again.
Yes, I think this is like lots of people talk about good manners, bad manners, what's enough, what's not enough. So that's our subject today about
I think,
manners. And
I think more people actually complain about bad manners and talk about good manners, to be honest. So,
yes,
yeah.
but I was thinking, so first, all transparency, because I've said this before, good manners, good manners. They make me hot. I love manners. I love when somebody stands up when I come to the table. I love when they pull out the chair for me. I love having a door open. I love having my coat put on. I just think all that is just fabulous, and I would never, ever turn it down. And something I want to make sure that we address is the problem that could be in some women's eyes about the too nice of guy that could
Yeah.
be bundled into this manners thing. And I thought, we need to address that because Barry's a guy and he knows this kind of stuff about guys.
You noticed.
Over and over and over every week, I go, he does seem
Mhm.
to be one of those Y chromosome people. I'm going to just keep asking him for his point of view because most women, like, they say they like manners, but I've had a number of men tell me, and even women admit that they yell at men when they try to open the door.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
is kind of hard to figure out where the scale is, since I'm like, do anything for me, I'm a happy camper. And some people are like, don't hardly do anything for me because I'll yell at you. And so I feel really sorry for men because of that, because you don't like where it's instructions. Okay, I like the door being opened. I don't.
It's almost like you need to have that on your profile on dating apps and say, here's what I want about manners. Let's make it clear up front.
And it's such bad manners to yell at somebody because they wanted to open the door, in my opinion. Never to be
So,
humble about relationships.
so speaking from personal experience of that,
Yeah.
I definitely have, because I would say, probably because I'm English, of course, that doesn't hurt, that manners are part of my, gentlemanly conduct type thing. And on more than one occasion, when I've opened the door for a woman, and I do open the door for women all the time, um, actually, I open the door for most people all the time, especially if I'm in a less encumbered space, like someone's coming out with a baby in their arms or shopping cart, whatever. I'm like, go ahead of me, it's no problem. I'm thinking retail stores for some reason. But in terms of women who are fiercely independent, and I know quite a few women like that way, but most women are still accepting of this. But there are certain women who feel resentful towards a man who doesn't appreciate their strength, in the sense that's where they seem to come from. And for me, the thing about it is, and this is something I know some men don't agree with, is that when a woman does that, I don't stop doing what I'm doing. Some men basically go, forget it, I'm doing anymore. I'm done, because 2 women yelled at me, I've had enough, which is like, come on, get over it.
Yeah.
Because manners are something. Well, the thing is, it's like if 2 people are upset, doesn't mean everybody is. It's this assumption people make sometimes, and that could be a whole other topic about global assumptions. But the thing we fall in the trap of is that we start getting trained. If we keep many people who do something a certain way, we tend to match that in some way because that's what we fit into. So if you're in a relationship with a woman who never wants to open the door, never wants to have you open the door for them, you might get in the habit of never opening the door for any woman because you've sort of been trained by that partner. So that's one side of it. The other part as well, though, is, and there's the reason I do it personally, opening the door for a woman. And yes, especially when going out with them socially, as a friend of mine, or romantically, the chair, the coat stamp, all those things are part of the effort, but it's also part of the respect piece. And that's the thing it comes back to for me always in manners, is it comes from a place of respect, because some people do give manners, do manners, express manners, however you say that. they present manners as a means to an end, like they want to do it to get something. Yeah. And that's a whole other conversation as well. We can get into that in that piece. But for me, the thing is how to respect. And because I believe I'm an honorable person in most areas of my life, and manners is one of the ways I demonstrate that. So there.
So there. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said all that out loud, because often, in my conversations with women,
Hmm.
a man will offer to do something for them, including open the door, get a coat, but like take out the trash or empty the dishwasher or fix something at their house.
Hmm.
And more than 50% of the women, for a variety of reasons, and I'll name them, will say, oh, no, no, thank you. I can do it myself. So I get you don't want to be beholden as a woman.
Right.
You don't want to feel like you're taking advantage. I get that too. That's a nice trait to have.
Mhm.
And what I explain to women is if he offered, first, he does want to do it.
Yeah.
Now, if he's expecting more payment than thank you, it is entirely up to you to say yes or no. I mean, you're not going to invite somebody to your house that isn't at least a referred professional or somebody you know. So
Hmm.
I'm going to stay with friends. This is somebody that's a friend or a guy that you're a little interested in. This is the best enticement for him to go, oh, she'll let me provide something for her and she'll tell me thank you.
Hmm.
And she might even offer me a glass of lemonade. And that's really enough for them. The thank you's enough. The lemonade's a bonus. A sandwich, oh my God, they think they've died and gone to heaven, which is what I
Right.
do for any worker that comes to my house. They all get simply lemonade, which I should be buying stock in because then they're all hooked. And if it's lunchtime and they don't have lunch, I'll make them a sandwich because they're providing this work for me that probably I don't know how to do, and I certainly don't want to do.
Hmm.
So I've talked to a lot of women into stopping and pausing for a moment and just check in. Does it seem like it's a clean, I'm offering to do this just because I'd like to and I'm good at it and you won't have to? And it's never couched in, I don't think you can,
Right.
if they're a good guy. So we're only talking about good guys.
Yes.
Assholes, we're not even talking about them because they're not listening to this anyway. And you
We
don't
might
want
get
to.
there. We might get there somewhere along the way, just to illustrate what you don't want to have.
Yeah, for sure. So to pause, because our natural instinct is not to accept help, period, which is so sad, which is why we get so overwhelmed. And then we don't have energy for ourselves or our kids or our romantic relationships. So this is really good for guys too, that I
Yeah.
tell them offer to do something that will help take a burden off of us. All this labor that we do around the house feels like a burden to us, even if we like doing it, because we're using our energy. So if you
Right.
use your energy instead and we go take a bath or go for a walk or go shopping or sit on the couch and read a book, we're going to recharge so that we're more available in our happy side for you. So it really takes two people to offer the nice manner thing and to
Mhm.
accept the nice manner thing.
Yeah.
So the other thing I've found I'm going to change subjects really fast, but then you're going to deal with these because I love this subject about men. As much as
Yeah.
I tell women it's really important to appreciate men, every once in a while, because of a man's background or because they've not had much appreciation, they're kind of like, yeah, no, don't tell me thank you. I mean, I'm happy to do this, but don't tell me thank you. I tell women, ignore that. Just keep saying it. Ignore it. I mean, they might need smaller bites. That's okay. But say thank you, please. So, what do you say to all that, Mr. Selby?
Well, I would say yes, yes, and yes. No. I mean, the, there is a certain belief people sort of carry. Like if you have workmen coming over to do stuff in your house, you're paying them, therefore you shouldn't do anything for them. But having kindness in the way you treat them, I mean, frankly, the way you treat everybody in a service oriented mindset is a great way to live in the world. I mean, we get a whole tangent about service in the world and being of service in the world. But in this conversation about this understanding about what manners really is about, again, as I mentioned earlier, about being about respect, and to answer your last point of that piece about if they're not been trained in it or not been used to that, it is okay. I was going to say something else. It is okay to sort of educate them or inform them or just shift their perceptions by being grateful for what they're doing or encourage that behavior. And on the other extreme for a second, I do know a friend of mine recently about a woman he knows that, and I've seen that happen with a woman too, where the woman was out with a guy and he pulls up in the car and she stands by the passenger door and won't get in until he comes around and opens the door. And it's like eventually gets to the car and opens the door and puts her in. So there is some level where it can go the other way, where the woman becomes almost not so much expectant, but directly demanding of it. We're not even saying a word, which happens too, which in a way it's interesting, because if circumstance where it happens where the man forgets and she does that, then it's like, he goes, oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. Go ahead and take care of it. Don't apologize. Just thank you for reminding me. If he normally does it. But if he never does it, frankly, if you're standing by the passenger door to a woman watching the show, listening to this podcast, if you are expecting the man to open the door for you and he doesn't open the door and it's the first time you're going out with each other, it could be a long haul to train him. So it may be better off, unless everything else is all green lights, to say, you know what, don't even bother opening the door, just drive away. I'll take care of myself.
And to certainly be sure that you have expressed your wishes, before you get out. I really appreciate it if you'll open the door for me. I'll wait right here. Tell him ahead of time. And when you're going out, I'll look forward to you opening the door for me, or wait. And if he doesn't, say, I'd really like you to open the door for me, so that you give him a chance to see if he wants to provide this for you. And if he doesn't, then you get to decide how big it is on the importance scale.
Yeah.
Because it really, I love it. And my husband never let me open a door ever, 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 ever. It would have been a big deal to him if I ever did. And I loved having it open. But I know plenty of couples that they've talked about it and they went, yeah, no, it's not a big deal to either one of them. If it's not a big deal to either one, it needs to be like benign, less than zero importance to both people. Then have at it. But if one person thinks it's important and you're a couple, you need to acquiesce to the person that thinks it's important as far as manners concerned. Not everything, but I think as far as manners are concerned, because they like this and it's a way that they feel cared about. It's a way that they feel important, both sides equally, men and women. And if you don't allow them, you're saying, I don't really care that much about your feelings, which is kind of sad if you're supposed to care about them as a person. And how much are you really allowing caring, letting their caring come into you if you're blocking a way that they said, but this is a way I really feel caring about you. I mean, it's really kind of selfish, I think, to get all in your high petard, as my grandmother used to say, and your petard.
That's a word from the past, definitely.
I know.
I would couch that a little differently, because the feeling of expectations and having only one partner fully in, so to be fully invested, the other one's not, is that can actually be a relationship deal breaker. Because the thing is, that's usually an indication of something much deeper than that. Because the manners really, I would venture to say, that manners given and received is really an indication that there's caring involved, that there's respect involved, that there's trust involved, all these different things. And so if manners are not expressed, you can find the right word to navigate, talk about that. And then it may be that there's a lack of, or a not enoughness of trust, of honor, of respect, of care, that are red flags if they're not there. So for some people, manners can be a very clear indication of the likelihood of a future in this partnership. So that's one of those things where when it's not like a frivolous thing in that sense, at least it's not to me. And also, just to speak personally, when I see couples out and about where his demonstrated respect for her, which is the way I see it, is lacking, I get triggered. I shared the story. This came back a long time ago now. I was up in San Jose. This is going to be back in 2013. Yes, but 10 years ago. And I was out with a friend of mine. We went to dinner at a place called Santana Roach in San Jose. And it was a hot summer night. We're sitting out and we went for dessert. I'm sure I told the story on the podcast before, a long time ago. But we're sitting outside this Italian cafe where we went for dessert. So they're like, nice little cream pastries and coffee latte sitting outside. Just it was a nice evening. You know, we did this frequently. I was over there. It was like August, I think I was up there. And I noticed this couple walking by. And I mentioned, and I said this to my friend. She's in this beautiful like sundress, very cute, you know, tanned legs, you know, legs are nice and smooth, high heels, so like summer sandals. They weren't like fancy, but the summer sandals. You know, she had her hair done. She looked really nice, very fresh. It wasn't like done up. It just very fresh. He's walking along. He's got, you know, t-shirt, torn jeans, flip flops, and a baseball cap on backwards. And I said to my friend, it's like, if I had the energy after having all of what we'd eaten, I was joking at the time, I would have grabbed him by the collar and said, dude, show some respect for her by dressing to match. Mm-hmm. Because respect and manners isn't necessarily just opening the doors. Mm-hmm. It's about how you take care of yourself for your partner, in the sense, or says, hey, take care of yourself so it reflects on your partner. Because when you go out in public with your partner, if one of you doesn't make the effort to at least raise the bar to where the other person is, it can be very telling of how you're viewed. And I know we're talking about judgments and stuff, which I whole thing about, you know, not being attached to what people think of you, but in that context about making the effort to present in the same arrangement as your partner is a part of being what good manners are about. It shows, first of all, it shows you're aware. Second, again, respect, honor, care, trust, all those things come into play. That's why I say that manners can be a deal breaker if they're not expressed in a way that matches.
Oh, so important. So the other piece about that I'm going to bring up is there are inside the house, the relationship conversations, and there are outside the house when there's other people around conversations.
Yes, indeed.
And oh my gosh, the people who don't think about it or don't care about it, and I hear how they speak to somebody else or how they talk about them with other people.
Yep.
And, you know, there used to be a long time ago, there was the show about the Bickersons, and they bickered all the time, and they did it in front of, they didn't care who. Me personally, I cannot live that way. I cannot have someone talking about if we're having a problem or we're having a really intimate conversation about something really important, even really something tender and happy. I want to know that we've talked about that, and without the other person's permission, you are not sharing that with anybody else outside of your relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that is definitely goes under the heading of manners, of being honoring of other person's private thoughts that they've shared with you and said, you know, I'm only sharing this with you. Or you could ask, wow, is this something you're only sharing with me? Because I'm really honored. I mean, people pay me for that too, but my friends and my family, and I have my inner circle people that I know are vaults. I mean, we are vaults. And sometimes I hear it and I go, wow, you really said that out loud. And I know their feelings are hurt, partly is a driven thing to make them say it, which can then hurt the other person's feelings, or they're mad, but don't do it in public, please. And besides that, it's hard on the two of you. I'm going to be personal about this, and it drives me crazy. Like the guy in the clothes, it drives me crazy to think that is so mean and inconsiderate and uncaring. And I mean, if you really don't like that person that much, then why are you even with them? But please have this conversation away from all of us.
Yeah.
I just think that's such a huge thing to address when you're talking about manners.
It is. It's something that for me is, and it's interesting. Like you know, people do come to see me to spill their beans and tell me their stories and such. So I would say that there's the idea about not talking to people outside the relationship about your own stuff, except maybe a therapist, you know, because it is. It's like that's private and there's not public information. So to air your laundry out in public, so to speak, is again no indication of lack of respect. I mean, I keep coming back to the idea about disrespect and lack of trust and caring, because that's the thing, is that these behaviors will be very indicative of how the person actually feels in that relationship.
Yeah.
So it's important in my feeling that manners indicate, or should say that when you do have manners, it shows you do care. It's not just a thing, I'm just doing it to get something or doing it because I should be doing it. It's like, no, I'm doing it because I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to be back to women are worse about this. They should just know. They should
Right.
already know that what I tell them is private. They should already know not to say angry things to me. If they were raised with people that argue out in public, as far as they know, it's acceptable. And it might even
Right.
be acceptable to them. But if this is where you get to vote again, it's not acceptable to me. So I need you not to do this in public for me.
Hmm.
And can we agree on this? And what part can't you agree about? So that let's see if we can have a middle ground, a compromise. Because I'm not really good about, my dad used to call it teasing on the square, where you pick at somebody and you say, "Oh, I'm just kidding." And I've watched people being as objective as I can because it is such a hot button for me personally. I don't do well when people do that with me. And I go, they seem to be okay. I mean, in my outside world of just watching, they seem to care about each other. They seem to be affectionate, but they're doing this, you're so stupid, you did a stupid thing. Okay, doesn't work for me. And
Hmm.
and so I am really clear about saying this, not the first or second date, but certainly down the road. I'm sensitive. You're going to like this, the positive sides of my sensitivity. Everybody likes it. Here's the other side of that coin, and this is the part you're going to bump up against if you are this kind of person and can't
Yeah.
not be this kind of person. So figuring out who you are and then saying it out loud, I'm just revealing myself, and what do you think about this, and can you maneuver around it? And it's
Hmm.
funny because I had a conversation with a girlfriend the other day because we were such oil and water when we first met. And then we're like super good friends 40 years later still. And I said, "How did we get over that?" And I said, "I learned to ask and really listen to what you said. And you learned to tell me even more clearly." She was such a good lesson for me 40 years ago about, "Oh, yeah, could you say that a different way? I get what you're saying, but I'd hear it better if you said it a different way." And
Right.
it was such a good lesson for me. So you really can work it out. It's amazing how you can work it out. And we adore each other as friends. And I don't do that with everybody. It doesn't work out with everybody. There's people who think I'm way too much work. And I go, I get that, and I'll admit it, and I'll say, sure, and you can leave. Because I am too much work for some, and they're way too much work for me too.
Oh
So
yeah.
this is where you say manners to me means caring about what makes me feel pleased to be in your company,
There you go.
and
Yeah.
from a bunch of different levels.
Hmm.
When I go to the store, I would appreciate the cashier being courteous to me. I'm courteous to them. I'd like them to be courteous back. And then we're not going to see each other again. So it's
Hmm.
all those different levels, but somebody that's intimately in my life, we have to work this out. We really do.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing there's just like, with women and men being different. It's like, for example, in retail, whether it's restaurants or clothing stores or even food stores. Like I personally, I love going to Trader Joe's. It's one of my go-to stores, easy to go to. I know if you live in parts of the country or the world we don't have Trader Joe's, you're missing out. I'm sorry.
Oh,
But the thing is, the Trader Joe's I go to, I know quite a few people. I know most people I know there by face. Some of them I know by name. Yeah, they wear name badges, but try to keep track of all the people at hand. But like the people I've gotten to know by name, we greet each other every single time we go in there, and it feels, it's manners, it's respectful, it's. But the thing about it is I go in the store and I come out happier than I went in. Yeah, I spent money and I got groceries. That's great. But the thing is, my mood's been lifted. Now, hopefully theirs has too, but my response to them and the way we interact. So in retail facing people's work, having that willingness to engage with the customers and the audience that isn't just mechanical. Like when I go to the movie theater, quite often the cashier, the people taking the tickets, don't have much personality on display. They're like almost automatons. They're just like robots going, yeah, ticket please, ticket please, ticket please. And that's the thing. And I understand it can get that way. But when one of them like has a sense of humor or is smiling at least,
uh-huh.
where their eyes are smiling, where they're not just like dour expression, checking the tickets and that's it. And I do understand some jobs tend to lead either track. Well, some jobs either make people act that way, or they tend to attract people who are that way, because that may be possible too. Distinctly understanding that manners are a gift you can give somebody who you may never see again, like you were saying, like you never see this person again, probably. But if you choose to make eye contact, to smile, to give a gesture of kindness and compassion if someone's at the counter, especially if they're trying to find their credit card or something like that, don't be impatient for them or upset with them. It's like you can make a huge impact on that person's life, that person's day and their life, just by doing one thing differently.
Yep.
And yes, it may cost you an extra 30 seconds, but the benefit you bring, and also quite often the memory you then put in their minds because about you becomes so much better. So why I don't say why not. Recommendation is to be willing to show respect for other people, which is what part of manners is.
Oh, so true. And you made so many good points, and I want to restate one of them, that generally when you use good manners, the person you're using them with will feel better. Guaranteed. Yeah. I mean, unless they're already in the biggest, grumpiest mood and they're never going to get over it ever. True. I know that I have left retail people feeling better than when I first got there. Mm-hmm. Gosh, you're really having a bad day. Have you had a bunch of crappy customers today? And they're like, yeah, you have no. Oh, there's Miss Gigi.
Sorry, goodbye.
Well, you've won the lottery because you're going to have a nice customer now. And I know, even if it only lasts 5 minutes till the next grouchy customer shows up, I made them feel better because I'm polite. I'm kind. I go out of my way to greet them and look at them as a person, because it's who I am and I want to get whatever it is I want to get. And I know this is the best way to do it, is to be kind to them. So it's another benefit to having good manners, that you give the other person a chance to feel better. And I walk out feeling better. I just do. I mean, I already feel probably pretty good when I get there, but then I do feel better after, because I gave it and I received it.
Right.
Yeah, manners is such it's not quite as widely taught or used or talked about nowadays. I think it's just passé, or seems like a lot of extra effort. And I think it just makes the world, makes my world run smoother when I'm generally polite to people.
Right.
So do you want to talk about how guys can get put in the friends category or the nice guy category if they look like for me, it looks to me like they don't have enough oomph behind what they're doing. They're not displaying their backbone or other areas of their body in their attitude, where they really do seem that too nice thing. I worry about that with guys.
You mean they're a bit effeminate in their gestures?
Maybe. Almost? Yeah. Or they don't stand up enough for themselves. They let people push them around. I don't want a guy that gets pushed around at all.
You know what? Let me think about that for a second, because we've got a break coming up. Let me take a moment to think about that and come out with a much more impactful answer.
I thought we might be coming up on the break, and I thought it might be a good time to ask you, because I so want to hear, because you always give such thoughtful answers. Yeah, Cece just came to the rescue.
So come back and see us in a minute, and we'll come back to the conversation.
Yeah.
right.
Hey, we're talking about manners. What's too much and what's too little? And I asked Barry the provocative question about how guys don't turn into the too nice of guys and get put in the friend zone.
Well, the simple act, I mean, it's going to sound, let me say it this way first, then I'll expand a little bit. One of the pieces is that when I open the door for a woman or help them with a coat, something, it's a, what's what it's a felt gesture. It's not something I just do it to do it sort of thing. I feel like I put myself in I embody that's what it's really, the embodiment of doing it. So that way there's a presence felt, because the thing that truly separates it, one of the things truly separates the old way I was, the soft guy, versus truly authentic, strong masculine presence, that is what really fills out what manners can be, is presence. And so when I am in fact helping a woman on with a coat or with a chair, it's not a hesitant gesture. That's the word, hesitant. Because that's why the other thing is, sometimes I know that's happened to some men, and I did it myself in the past, so maybe it was just me back then. But bringing a woman, I would be either one, in awe of her, or so concerned about like treading on toes and making a mistake that I would hold back my full investment in the action I was taking, which was to do something nice for her. And so one piece for me really was, back then, not knowing that if I did this gesture, whether it would be received or not. I had a whole thing about approval and everything else. I mean, that's all my history, which I've worked pretty much through now. Well, it shows up once in a while, part of life. But it's like having a full investment in what I'm doing, saying, I'm opening the door for her. And it's almost like once I do that, it gets less effort to do it, and I get to play with it. One thing, so for example, when I open the door for a woman and something happens, I mean, I'm not so much tied to that one action either. I respond to what happened. Like she drops something, I can go grab it and help her up with it. Or she makes this funny response to me, I can play around with that. Because it's not like the job I have to do is open the door, which is another way men screw up. Like they're so focused on the job that they miss all the possibilities of what happens around it. And it's like 3 different responses I'm giving you. I hope those help.
Oh, yeah. Yes, because what I hear you saying is you bring your presence with you. You bring who you are. You're fully who you are. You're not, am I doing this right? Is it okay? I'm testing the grounds. I'm just going to go for it in a masculine, courteous way, not a bull in a china cabinet or forceful.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one of the things we've talked about a lot is that the sexiest thing to both genders is self-confidence on each person's part. And what I say is, your self-confidence of opening the door is matched by my self-confidence of allowing you.
There you go.
I know I'm perfectly capable of opening the door.
Yeah.
I am going to say thank you because I like it. I'm very confident that I can allow you. It's perfectly okay for you to open it for me. You're not putting me down. You're not thinking anything bad about me. I'm not thinking anything bad about me. It gives us both a chance to build up. So here we are back at so many step one things we talk about in our videos of getting your own self-confidence in order, your own self-worth, your own value, so that you stop looking for it in other people and worrying about other people are going to pull the rug out from underneath you at the slightest thing, like opening a door. I mean, that's the part where when I dig in with women who say, oh, no, thank you, it's often because they don't think they deserve it. And for the men, because I've met a couple men friends who I've learned for right now, I need to warn them. I'm going to give them a compliment. It feels kind of blindsiding to them because of some of the trauma they've had in their life and some of their background. And as long as they told me that, I'm like, okay, I get that. So I make out my list of things I want to say because they keep doing all these nice things for me. And I go, okay, I'm warning you. How many are you ready for? And they go, 2. Okay, I can give you 2 compliments.
That's
I go,
cool.
because I have this whole list. No, just 2. Okay. And it's been kind of a fun journey for all of us. And I'm like, this is fun. I like learning this because I'm like the biggest, complimenter person and I could give you 5 in a row, but it's not working for them. And I go,
Right.
Oh, I can learn how to do this. It's a good stretch for me. The person who loves giving compliments. Okay. But it's a good manners for me to say, this is the way they receive them. And because I really want them to receive it, I'll do it this way. So it's been a really fun dance.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is that I mean, part of this key, of course, is to understand what the other person is, which is what you're doing, and having that willingness to not just do your own way and be a bullet, like you said earlier, bullet in a china shop way of doing things, but being respectful. It is something that has to be recommended, is to do with deference, in a sense, like doing it is like being that gracious, being that kind of is up to the level where it's received and not over that, because the other part of the title was about when when it's too much. And that's sometimes where a person will go out of their way to prove how good they are at being of service, which is totally messed up, by continually doing things that the other person's like, enough already, give me a break, back away, because that's what happens. It pushes too hard. So presence is one of the key things for men and for women, in a sense too, but also, I won't say asking, but certainly getting a sense where the other person is, so you can play with them on the level they're at. And in relationship and in dating, this again being a good test and a good gauge is when you start going out with somebody and finding you're at the same level. That really is a good thing to start from, because then you've got a platform where you both go, okay, great, we understand each other on that level of manners and respect and care. We can work with that. But when it's so off kilter, it doesn't match each other, it's like, then can the relationship even work?
And wow, I love that you brought up the giving too much thing, because it's important to figure out personally why, because I used to be too much an overgiver. Oh my God. And I learned, because I really thought unconsciously back here without thinking, oh, they're going to like me even more. I found, and now I've learned when it happens to me, it can be more off-putting, even though it's nice and you like them, and it's too much. It's
Right.
too much it's like 3 Thanksgiving dinners, and what in the hell are you going to want back? We're so not there for you to be doing this much. I mean, you could sure ask and let me pick, but that's the other thing about when you look at what are your motives? What are your motives for using manners? When we talked about people that use them for bad, and what are your motives for saying nice things to people and doing nice things for people? Because I not, how do you know 100%? But the majority of people, I think, would seek a more palatable level if they were doing it from not feeling needy. That they're needy of giving is just as detrimental as they're needy of needing to receive. Don't you think?
Absolutely. That imbalance and that distortion is something that, well, a bunch of us have gone through when we were kids. And so we raised those values. Somebody who is over giving was trying to compensate for the fact they weren't being given to in return. So the self-awareness piece is a big piece of the work that we do. But to really have a sense of what is received and what's given, so there's a balance there, absolutely is fundamental, because we are social creatures. And so we do tend to interact with other people, whether it's just intimate partners or family members or socially or business-wise. Bringing and it might be different levels of manners and respect to each situation, circumstance, is how we navigate the world. And if we're not even aware of those things and not self-aware of how we're responding to those things, we're missing out on a whole big part of the culture and a big part of how we can impact people positively. So yeah, absolutely is a key piece.
And so potentially feeling unfulfilled, of feeling, because I do all this for other people and they never appreciate me. Well, is it that they aren't the right people? Stop doing it? Or you're not giving them the kind of things they want? You want back way more than they could ever give? I mean, these are the kinds of conversations you and I have with clients about, gosh, I'm really sorry this is happening and it sucks. And I think you have a lot of control over what's happening. Wouldn't you like something new to happen? Let's figure out how to have something new happen. Because that is a really big complaint, both for men and women. I give and I don't get back and they don't appreciate it. Then stop and do it differently. Yeah.
True. Well, one part of that is oftentimes for some people is they don't give to give, they give to get. or give to get back. And so they feel like it's out of balance. And if you really are in the flow of that generosity of spirit to be having, again, back to the title of what manners are that are enough, you're giving it to give. There's no return required for your manners. You just do it because you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that really when you are of service, of kindness, giving to other people, it's the act of giving itself that gives you the reward back. Whether they thank you or not, whether they're doing anything before you or not, it's almost like that's gravy on top of it, but not required.
Yep. And if they don't appreciate it, then let's talk about how to do something differently or be okay with them not giving back. I mean, those are the options. Complaining is not helping any of it, right? Stop complaining and do something different. Call us. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. Really... Oh, my goodness. Yes. We think we're being so damn helpful with our complaining. It's not helpful. Okay. So what are your feelings about manners, you people out there and the people around you? Do you think that everybody needs some lessons in manners, or at least to talk about it or look at it or think about it differently? Barry and I would be so happy to have a conversation with you about it. And I hope that this conversation's been helpful too. So if you'd like to speak to me directly, you could go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com, and click on what's holding you back from love, and you can have a complimentary conversation with me. You can also join my email list so that you can get a repeat of this wonderful podcast. You can also look through my website to see some of my older podcasts that I've done in the past. You can also follow me on social media on Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. And Barry, please tell people how they can get a hold of you.
I'd also welcome a conversation with you if you're feeling some discomfort, confusion, and some questions about this sort of stuff. So you go to my website. I'm trying to remember all the right ways of framing that.
I love confusion. I thought that was
it was trying to come out. Yeah, you know.
That's how I feel sometimes, confused.
Little conflation of that. So go to my website, which is barryselby.com, as I mentioned. And on the front page of that, you can sign up for a mini session with me if you want to have a good deep dive into what's going on and how you want to navigate where you want to go. At the bottom of the front page is a link to my email list. You can jump on there and become a member. And also you can find out more about what we're doing on my website, which is my book and other things as well. But certainly if you do my email list, you'll get these replays every week as well. So if you don't watch them online, you'll get a link from me reminding you to watch them online. So I recommend you do that. If you want to find me on social media, my social media is all my name, which is Barry Selby, except for one. And YouTube is where I have all my videos, my own videos we've done together here, some other stuff I've done in other interviews. Over 1,500 videos are up there now. So again, youtube.com/Barry Selby. It's Barry Selby on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Clubhouse, on Pinterest, and on another platform.
Twitter.
YouTube already said. Oh, and then on Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby. It's the only one's different. So find me, follow me, get some help, and both of us can be here to support you in having what you want and definitely getting better manners.
Yes, yes. And if you know somebody that's having a challenge with people having lack of manners in their lives, please share this video with them. And you can watch it live every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between. And we love getting questions and comments about our shows. And if you have something you'd like us to talk about in the future, please send an email about that too.
Yes.
Yes. And we will see you very unconfused next week.
Indeed, we will. See you then.
Bye for now.
Bye.